Welcome back. You're watching Media Dialogues in 2023, and I'm talking today to Gustav Gyllenhammar. He's the Vice President for Markets and Subscriber Growth, and Amarjit Singh Batra, General Manager, South Asia, Middle East, and Africa for Spotify. Gustav, podcasts, I was reading a tweet by one of your colleagues about some kind of pessimism about the future of podcasting in the US market. And of course, India, the same rules don't apply because podcasts haven't yet broken out here. But what can you tell us about podcasting? Because, we know that in the US, I think around 2014 or so, 15 with Serial, there was this big breakout. We now even have shows like Only Murders in the Building, which are tributes to podcasts, right? So what is happening on podcasts?
Yes, I think we're still only in the infancy of the podcast growth and industry globally. What we're seeing is a combination of a number of macro trends happening at the same time. So you see analog audio is going to digital audio, linear audio is going to on-demand audio, and mass reach is going to more personalized audio experiences. And podcasts sit at the intersection of all these three trends. And we see overall revenue and generation going into podcasts is growing very, very rapidly. And we see that not just in our developed markets, but also in emerging markets such as India, in Indonesia, and also in Latin America. And Latin America is a market where we have a lot of similarities to what's happening in India now, is what happened in Latin America over the last couple of years. So back to your question about monetization. When we launched in Latin America, we also saw a similar situation to what we saw when we launched in India, that predominantly we had free user growth and not so many subscribers initially. But if you then fast forward to where Latin America is today, you see almost the same conversion rate from free to paid as we see in Western Europe and North America. And there are no reason that over time we could get to the same development also here in India.
I did a show on podcasts with your colleagues and some of the top 10 podcasters that you have on your list. What do you think will create a breakout moment for podcasts in India?
Yeah, I think I'm a huge believer in podcasts. I listen to it, and I think that there is an opportunity where I think, which Gustav mentioned, it's at infancy. So India is even at a better stage right now, because I think globally, I think this medium is going to expand. If you look at India's true connection to audio, I think the true connection to audio comes generations, and thousands of years back, when people used to tell stories from grandparents to kids. So I think if you look today also, I think people actually consume audio a lot. Even if you're sometimes looking at a video platform, sometimes I think you are actually not looking at it. You're actually listening out there. So I think
YouTube songs.
Different platforms. And I think the opportunity to actually be audio only, and I think which Spotify is focusing on, I think that is huge. I think the things that we need to do, I think as a whole ecosystem, I think to work on it, is how do we enable more and more people to become podcasters? Because this is an area where Spotify is investing heavily. We have kind of a tool called Anchor, which actually has allowed people to create products, sitting at home through their mobile phone, create a podcast and distribute, and even interact with other people in different cities and create a podcast together. Now that seamless and easy way of building a podcast, I think, is the first step that I think Spotify took many years back. But now I think what we have seen is over the last few years, and if you look at the Wrapped also, there are a lot of interesting podcasters who are coming. People who have voices and people who have expertise and people who are within a certain culture. They want to share about their stories. They want to share about their culture. They want to share about their expertise. And I think that piece is now slowly building up. Indian voices, I think, across the world will get a bigger watch, because today it's not about Indian users. We have 450, 60 million users around the world. Indians speak English, very well. I think a lot of our content is in English. So I think the voices of India,
a global audience could be available to
it's sitting, waiting out there to kind of a show. So if people who are listening to this show and want to become podcasters, I think the time is now, because that's the time to start podcasts, and we are here to support them.
Audiobooks?
Yes, definitely. Yes. As you look at the vision that we have as a company, is to really be a groundbreaking pioneer within all verticals of audio. And while we started in music and logically continued with podcasts, audiobooks has been the vertical which we most recently have invested into. And we're off to a strong start in our English language primary market, the US, the UK, Australia, and so on. But we're hoping that over time we'll be in many more markets around the world, because we see an insatiable appetite among consumers to consume that type of audio.
Yeah, how far is it for India? Because, you know, Amar just talked about the storytelling tradition that we have, we have over the centuries. Audiobooks seems to fit right in, isn't it?
Yes, similar to...
Any announcement you're going to make for us?
Similar to us taking some time to move into music and launch in India, we want to do launches when we feel like we have a product that is really compelling for the market. So we have no announcement for you today about audiobooks.
Slow and steady.
But when we launch, we want to launch something that's really attractive to both the creative industry in India as well as consumers in India.
I'm going to sort of get to wrapping up the show, but a quick question. We know that globally Spotify has still not turned in a profit. It's clearly investment mode and growing. Given that in the last year we saw this really hard pushback from Wall Street to entertainment giants, which were focused on growth and not so much on unit economics and the bottom line, there's been a pushback. Do you have anything that you can share with me on how Spotify is dealing with this issue?
Yes, we have a very long-term perspective on our business opportunity, and some of our viewers here may have seen the Investor Day we did last year, when we talked about the opportunity for Spotify to 10x our revenue over the next decade into a $100 billion company. And we think that there are investments needed to get there. And if you look on a unit economics basis in markets where we have been present a long time, it's looking really compelling already today. So it is the investment that is sort of fueling this. And we will continue to make the right investments for the long term, while obviously being very frugal and cautious about sort of how we spend our money.
Amarjit, India seems to, Gustav, we just heard him say that, and we've heard Spotify global management talk also about how India is a market that they want to get right and they are invested. So what are the pressures that you feel leading the Indian market, given that profitability is not right up there, is it? At this point of time.
I think the good part about India is that I think since the time we've come in, Daniel Lake, our founder, I think he's mentioned we are here, we are looking for a long term in India. We are not, and I think that's a very, very bold and visionary statement to make. I think, and Gustav and myself and everybody leaders who are working on India, I think we are living with that vision that we are here for the long term. So I think we don't look at the short terms, ups and downs. I think we are here to build it brick by brick. And I think the question here is ultimately, what are we here for? We're not representing our numbers or bottom line alone. We are also representing the industry. Because this market, which is an amazing market, and I think probably the biggest potential market from the music perspective and the language and diversity that we have, I think hasn't seen the potential of a streaming platform of the size of what Spotify can work together. So I think we are looking to create that magic. And I think when we're looking to create magic, I think they will be obviously looking to kind of go deep into it. And I think good thing is that kind of a backing I always have from Gustav and everybody at the senior leadership at Spotify. Yes, of course, we will work towards making sure that we are moving faster and maybe better. But I think we are all together in this, for long term.
Final question to each of you. I know that Spotify Wrapped this year made available this feature about what does your music taste and playlist say about your personality. What's yours, Gustav?
It's a discoverer.
I'm actually a discoverer also.
Well, good team members, isn't it, then, on the same path of discovery in this Indian market. Thank you, Gustav. Thank you, Amarjit. So lovely talking to both of you. Thank you very much for watching. Catch another conversation on Media Dialogues, if you want to know about the business of brands. See you next week.